All right, so get ready for this one. We're going to deep dive into the case of Robert Liberty.
The Candlelight Killer?
Yeah, Candlelight Killer. We've got some excerpts here from a Wikipedia article about him.
Okay.
And this is one of those cases you can't make this stuff up. Let me set the stage a little bit. California, late 1960s.
Okay.
Time of huge change, obviously, but also the backdrop for a series of murders.
Right.
And the thing that ties them all together, a pretty creepy calling card. Candles.
Burning at the crime scenes.
Burning at the crime scenes, that's right. So the killer...
Shockingly young.
Yeah, I mean, really young. And Gibness never actually convicted.
Wow.
So let's dive in. 1966.
Okay.
Robert Liberty is just 19 years old.
19 years old.
When he commits his first murder, he strangles his girlfriend.
How old is she?
31-year-old Marcella Landis.
Okay, so quite a bit older than him.
Yeah, uses a silk stocking to do it. But here's where things get, well, strange.
Okay.
He doesn't just leave her body.
Right.
He stages the entire crime scene.
Oh, wow.
Dresses Landis's body, puts makeup on her.
Oh, my God.
Surrounds her with candles. I mean, literally head to toe.
Yeah.
And then places a Bible on her chest.
It's like some kind of a... I don't even know. What is that? Like a ritual?
Yeah, and I mean, it's this really bizarre mix of something kind of macabre and, I don't know.
Spiritual.
Yeah, her ritual, right?
Yeah.
So picture this. The police walk in,
Okay.
and there's Liberty
Yeah.
just calmly playing his guitar
No.
right next to her body.
That's really creepy.
I mean, talk about a red flag, right?
Yeah, it makes you wonder, like, was this guy, I mean, was he really
Yeah.
all there mentally?
Well, I mean, his defense team definitely argued that he wasn't. They enter an insanity plea,
Okay.
and Liberty ends up spending 90 days at a Atascadero State Hospital.
Oh, I've heard of that place. That's where they evaluate people who have been accused of crimes.
Yeah, it's specifically for people who've committed crimes, and there's a question of whether they were
Right.
legally insane when he did it. So he's there for 90 days, and then they transfer him over to Vacaville State Hospital
Oh.
for more long-term psychiatric care. After some time, the psychiatrists there, they decide he's cured.
He cured.
They say he's no longer a danger to society.
But, I mean, how? How can you just
I know, right?
decide someone is cured of something like that?
It really makes you think about what we knew about mental health back then, right?
Like, how much did we really understand about how these conditions work?
And then, this is where it gets even crazier. 1969,
Okay.
there's a clerical error, like a mistake in the paperwork.
No way.
And Liberty's accidentally labeled as discharged.
What?
He just walks right out of Metropolitan State Hospital.
So they didn't even realize he was gone?
Not right away. But eventually they figure it out, find him, bring him back.
Okay.
They send him to Orange County Medical Center. But then, on September 15th, 1969, he's officially released.
So they let him go? Just like that?
Yeah. Considered legally sane. No required supervision.
Wow.
And tragically, this is where we see his crime start to escalate.
Oh, no.
So he moves to Costa Mesa.
Okay.
And less than a year later, he shoots and kills his roommate, 25-year-old Thomas Astorina.
Oh, gosh.
Who, by the way, was a father of two.
Oh, that's awful.
Yeah. Liberty takes off, tries to avoid the charges.
So he's on the run.
Oh, yeah. Ends up on the FBI's most wanted list.
Wow.
Now it's June of 1970. Liberty's hitchhiking with his new girlfriend, Kendall Beerley.
Okay.
And they kidnap a 17-year-old named Richard Graytack.
They kidnap him?
Yep. They force Graytack to drive them to Liberty's mother's house.
His own mother?
Yeah, his own mother. And Liberty robs her.
At gunpoint?
At gunpoint.
I mean, what?
I know, right? So they get the money.
Yeah.
And they make Graytack drive them to San Diego.
Okay.
Break into the apartment of 53-year-old Robert Iron.
Robert Iron.
And here's another detail, and this one's a little eerie.
Okay.
Arian was a patient
Uh-oh.
at the same mental hospital as Liberty.
Wow, like he was drawn back to that world somehow.
I know, it's really strange, right? Like he's seeking some kind of connection to his past.
So what happens? What happens in the apartment?
Well, Liberty ties up both Arian and Graytack.
Okay.
They spend hours ransacking the place. And then Liberty beats Arian to death.
Oh my gosh.
Then the
stages the scene again.
Yeah. Candles on Arian's head.
Oh.
Messages scrawled on the door with like a grease pencil, stuff like the Candlelight Killer strikes again.
Oh, wow.
Catch me if you can.
Like he wants to be taught.
It's almost like he's taunting them, right?
Yeah.
Now, Graytack's still tied up at this point.
Right.
But he manages to escape and call the police.
Thank goodness.
I know. Huge manhunt takes off. But
they don't find him right away.
They don't? It's not the murders that get him caught.
Really? How did they catch him?
Just a few days later, Liberty, Beerley, and another teenager are arrested in Colorado.
Colorado. What for?
Robbing a motel and kidnapping the owner's wife?
It's like a completely random turn of events.
Totally random.
Wow.
So Liberty's arrested,
Okay.
and of course he pleads not guilty.
By reason of insanity?
By reason of insanity. Again.
Yeah.
But before he can even stand trial for any of it.
This is where it gets really tragic.
Yeah. January 1971, Liberty's strangled to death in his cell.
By another inmate?
By another inmate, Timothy Earl Dudley.
Wow. So the guy who evaded justice for so long
I know, right?
ends up meeting a violent end himself.
He was only 23 years old.
That's unbelievable. This whole case, I mean, it really makes you think, what if he had been properly supervised after he was released? What if they had caught that clerical error?
It's a lot of what ifs, for sure.
Yeah.
And then there's the whole question of the insanity play.
Right, he used it twice.
Twice. Once for Marcella Landis's murder, and then again after they caught him in Colorado.
It almost seems like he figured out how to play the system.
Yeah, or maybe he just learned how to work it to his advantage.
It's a fascinating element of this case, for sure.
And we can't forget about those rituals, especially the candles.
They're just so strange.
What do you make of that?
I don't know. It's like they held some special meaning for him.
Yeah, like they were part of some kind of...
ceremony, maybe.
Yeah, ceremony.
Like he had to have those candles there.
And they're what gave him his nickname, right?
The Candlelight Killer.
The Candlelight Killer.
But it wasn't just the candles, was it?
No. He dressed the bodies, put makeup on them.
Like he was trying to create some kind of, I don't know, tableau.
Yeah.
A specific image for whoever found them.
It all points to a mind that was, well, clearly very troubled.
Deeply disturbed.
And the fact that his life ended so abruptly, before he could stand trial, before he could maybe shed some light on why he did what he did, it just adds another layer of mystery to it all.
It really does. This case is a lot to unpack.
Yeah, it really is.
It makes you think about the whole justice system, how we handle a mental illness.
Our responsibility to care for people.
Yeah, and how we protect everyone else at the same time.
It's a tough one, for sure.
Yeah, it really is. Thinking about this whole case, it really kind of shows the anxiety and the uncertainty people had about mental health back then.
Yeah, especially in the late 20th century. I mean, we were just starting to understand conditions like schizophrenia and psychopathy.
Right, and treatments were, they were pretty experimental.
Definitely. And who knew how well they actually worked?
Yeah.
It's hard to imagine now, but back then, these mental hospitals were just packed.
Overcrowded.
Yeah, overcrowded, understaffed.
Not enough resources.
And the idea that they would release someone like Robert Liberty.
With his history.
Yeah, with his violent past back into society.
It's a huge gamble.
Huge gamble.
And to think his release, it wasn't even intentional.
Right, just a clerical error, a mistake in the paperwork.
It's tragic.
Adds another layer of tragedy, for sure.
Yeah.
It really makes you think, though, about our responsibility as a society to care for people who are struggling with mental illness.
Right, not just to punish them.
Exactly. But then there's the other side of that coin, right?
Protecting everyone else.
Protecting the community, keeping people safe.
It's a tough balance.
It is. Where do we draw the line?
It's a question we still struggle with today.
Yeah, for sure.
How do we balance the rights of the individual with keeping the community safe?
It's complicated.
It is, and there aren't any easy answers, that's for sure.
Definitely not. And then you've got Liberty using the insanity plea.
Right, that's always been controversial.
Oh, yeah. I mean, some people see it as,
a way to avoid taking responsibility?
Yeah, like a get-out-of-jail-free card.
Right, exactly.
But the reality is, it's not easy to use that defense successfully.
No, you have to go through all these psych evaluations, expert testimony.
Convince a jury.
That the defendant really was insane.
Legally insane, yeah.
It's a high bar to clear.
So Liberty used this plea twice.
Right. Once for Marcella Landis's murder. And then again after they caught him in Colorado.
It's like he understood how to use the legal system.
Maybe he learned how to work it,
Yeah. I mean, he had lawyers. He was in prison.
Taught to other inmates.
It's possible.
But it also shows how hard it is to really know what's going on in someone's mind.
Yeah. Especially when they have a reason to pretend.
To act insane.
Exactly.
So were these evaluations accurate? Who knows?
One of the things that really stuck with me about this case, besides the obvious, were the rituals.
The candles.
Yeah, the candles. They were just so specific.
Deliberate.
What do you think that was about?
I mean, it seems like they meant something to him symbolically.
Yeah.
Maybe he was trying to make the murders into some kind of ceremony.
A ritual.
Yeah, a ritual.
That's creepy.
It is.
And it's what gave him that nickname, right?
The Candlelight Killer.
The Candlelight Killer.
But it wasn't just the candles.
No, the way he dressed the bodies.
The make
It's like he was setting a stage.
Yeah, creating a specific image.
For whoever found them.
Like a macabre arts piece or something.
Disturbing, to say the least.
Yeah, for sure.
It all just points to a very, very troubled mind.
And the fact that he died before trial?
Before he could tell us why.
Yeah, why did it?
This adds another layer of intrigue to it all.
It's like we're left with this puzzle we can't solve.
Yeah. What can we learn from this case? What can we take away from the story of Robert Liberty, the Candlelight Killer?
Well, I think it shows how challenging it is to balance compassion for people with mental illness with the need to keep everyone safe.
Absolutely.
His case really shows how complicated the insanity defense is.
And how hard it is to evaluate someone's mental state.
Especially when they might be faking it.
Right. What about the institutions he was in? Were they equipped to handle someone like him? Could they have helped him?
Those are good questions. And it makes you think about the bigger picture, too.
Yeah.
The problems with mass incarceration.
And how many people in prison have mental illnesses?
It's a problem we need to talk about more.
Definitely.
Liberty's story, it's a reminder that mental illness can be dangerous.
But it can lead to violence.
But it's important to remember that not everyone with a mental illness is violent.
Right. They need help, not punishment.
They deserve support and treatment.
Compassionate and effective treatment.
Exactly.
We need to create a society where mental illness isn't stigmatized.
Where people aren't afraid to ask for help.
Because when they are, it can have tragic consequences.
For everyone involved.
And we have to hold ourselves accountable, too.
For what?
For making sure our systems are working the way they should.
Like if Liberty had been supervised after his release?
Or if they had caught that clerical error?
Maybe things would have turned out differently.
Maybe.
It's a lot of what ifs.
But we can't forget the victims in all of this.
That's right. Marcella Landis.
Thomas Astorina.
Robert Arian.
Their lives were cut short because of Liberty's actions.
And their family.
They have to live with that pain.
It's a reminder that behind every big headline, every shocking case,
there are real people who have been deeply affected.
And whose lives will never be the same. Yeah, it really has been, this whole deep dive into Robert Liberty. It's like looking into the dark side of human nature.
For sure.
But it also makes you think about our justice system.
Right, like how we deal with mental illness.
How we take care of the people who need the most help.
Exactly. And, we've talked about this this idea of the insanity plea.
Right.
But what does that even mean legally? Like, what makes someone legally insane?
Well, it's not just about having a mental illness, right?
Yeah.
It's about whether at the time of the crime they were so messed up that they couldn't understand what we were doing.
Yeah.
Or if they did understand, they couldn't tell right from wrong.
That's a tough standard to meet.
It is, legally.
It is. And some people think it's too easy to use.
Like a loophole?
Yeah, a way to get out of jail free.
But it's really not.
No, it's
not. I mean, you need so much evidence.
Biological evaluations.
For testimony.
You got to convince the whole jury
that the person was really, truly insane.
Yeah.
Not just pretending.
And Liberty used this defense twice.
Right. First for Marcella Landis,
Uh-huh.
and then in Colorado.
He was facing, a lot of charges.
Multiple murders.
Kidnappings, robberies.
And then, boom.
Yeah.
His life it ends.
Just like that. Murdered in prison.
By another inmate.
Timothy L. Dudley.
It's like something out of a,
I know, right?
like a Greek tragedy or something.
It really does. And it leaves us with so many questions.
Like, what would have happened if he hadn't died?
Exactly. Would he have been found guilty? Would he have used the insanity play again? Would he have been in prison for the rest of his life? Or would they have let him out again?
And if they did, would he have hurt anyone else?
Chilling thought, right?
Yeah. I mean, was he really insane?
Or was he just really good at manipulating people?
Making them think he was something he wasn't.
But even if he was faking it.
There's still the question of why.
Yeah, what drove him to do these things?
Was there something broken in him?
And if there was?
Could it have been fixed?
Could they help him?
These are questions that go way beyond just Robert Liberty.
Yeah.
This is about how we as a society deal with mental illness.
How we balance compassion with justice.
How we protect people,
everyone,
the victims, the community.
We started this deep dive talking about the candles, the rituals.
Right.
But I think the thing that's really unsettling is that there are no easy answers.
We don't know for sure what was going on in his head.
We're left with all these loose ends.
Yeah, it's ambiguous.
And sometimes that's the hardest part.
Not knowing.
It is. It really is.
And maybe that's what we should take away from all this.
What do you mean?
That sometimes there isn't a clear answer.
Hmm.
These cases, these stories, they show us how complicated people can be.
And how messy the world really is.
Exactly. And sometimes the most unsettling thing is the question that sticks with you long after the story is over.
The what if.
Yeah, the what if.
This has been a heavy one for sure. Definitely one that'll stick with me.
Me too.
And for anyone listening, I hope this is Well, I hope it's made you think,
Made you curious.
maybe even inspired you to learn more about criminal psychology, the history of mental health treatment, the insanity
There's
defense.
so much out there to explore.
Keep learning, keep questioning, keep an open mind.
Until next time.